This is our new session with the artist from the exhibition Cares Art Artist Care, and it's a show curated by Joanna and developed by our team. So this exhibition is now available on Spatial, where you can find the links in our social media bio. And you're welcome to just take a look at everyone's work. And we would like to start with a introduction. So maybe we can start from Chelsea.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm so glad for this show that I participated. It was kind of my first time of joining kind of like the virtual exhibition. Um, I had some photography work showed up here. And
It's okay.
yeah, I'm also happy to see others' work. I kind of go around the whole exhibition for a few times, and I just like staying there, like jumping around and see the space. Yeah, it's a really like nice and cute space for me.
Are you having some other shows going on recently?
Yeah, I have another one that's gonna happen in September in Boston, Massachusetts, I think. Yeah.
Congratulations. Also,
Yep.
Rochelle is in Massachusetts right now.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't know about that.
So I just saw that Rochelle froze it for a bit. So we were actually doing like a round of artist introduction. So feel free just to jump in.
Cemre, do you want to jump in until Rochelle
Yeah,
can?
sure.
Yep.
Why
Thank
not?
you.
Can you hear me fine? Because I do have a couple of lags with the Joanna as well, although I do see Chelsea and Amy quite clearly. If you can hear my voice, I can start my introduction.
Yeah, yeah, I can
I
hear
can
you.
hear you just.
Yep,
Great.
yep.
Okay. So I am a Turkish-born, Switzerland-based artist. I had my diploma back in 2021, and I work a lot with themes such as death, resilience, and lies, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here today with you guys.
Do you
We are
want
also
to
very
talk a bit
excited.
about the project that you submitted?
Yeah, absolutely. So my project was called I Am Sorry, and it was like I'm a multidisciplinary artist, so I like to work with different disciplines combined together. So I tried to like do like a gif, which was also like kind of a poem, and I was mostly thinking about how, in primary school when you do like something bad and they give you like this homework or like this activity where you have to like write a sentence repeatedly so that you learn from your mistake. That was like kind of my inspiration point when I set out to how do you say to make I am sorry. And what gave me the inspiration was the fact that my mother recently got diagnosed with depression. Although I kind of knew she was depressed for a while now, I didn't get to do much for her. And how do you say? It was kind of also like my way of excusing myself to her because I wasn't there for her, or I couldn't do anything for her. And when I moved to Switzerland for the first time, I mean, yeah, like the first year of my moving to Switzerland, she sent me an orchid basically, so because I was feeling really lonely at the time, and this orchid kept me quite company for some time. It lived like 3 4 months, and at the time I didn't know much about orchids, so it eventually did wither and die. But I really did try to do everything. I was like searching on the internet, I was asking like, what happens if I put some classical music? Apparently, plants like, classical music, that kind of thing. And yeah, well, it did not end up surviving, and I still do kind of feel bad about it because it was kind of like losing a friend. But it was this it was a similar experience for me. I saw it coming, but I couldn't really do much about it. It's the same thing with my mama as well. Like, I saw it coming, but I didn't get to do much. So it was kind of like this exorcism moment of these like emotions of being helpless, towards like a mental illness, I guess, that she had. And yeah, that was kind of the inspiration behind my work, I think.
Amazing.
So
It's
beautiful.
it's a very personal work, and it's amazing how you connected all the dots and the visual aspects of it.
Thank you. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention when I was presenting myself. If you guys are interested, I will be in Lyon for the Biennale. I think next week, from the 1st until the 6th of September. And I will be hosting like a couple of workshops, and I will be doing what we call in French café de Mancy, which means like reading the future in like the coffee traces. So that's like what my work is going to be about. So if you would like to join me, I am in Lyon. Voila.
Thank you, Cemre.
Amazing. Would it be live stream?
Sorry?
Would it be live stream, or is there a way
Yeah.
to join virtually?
Honestly, I wish there was. Actually, you know what? That's a really good question. Maybe, I'm gonna be there in advance, so maybe I can do some preparations so that there can be like a way to access virtually. I don't know if I can offer like virtual readings, but maybe I can do like a screening of the vernissage. Yeah, I think that might be an interesting idea. That's great that you asked me. That's yeah.
I think
Thank you so much for sharing.
yeah,
Thank you for the
thank you.
question.
I can see Rochelle is here. Can you hear us, Rochelle?
I can. I'm having some technical difficulties, but I went out and came in again, so
Ah,
hopefully we'll be okay.
do you want to present a bit about the work that you submitted and your practice?
I have two brains. I have a studio brain and I have a public art brain. And what I sent for this call was an installation I did many years ago in New York City. Do you have any images, Joanna, of what I sent so I can talk about that?
I let
That's
me see. Amy,
possible. If not, I'll
are you
just.
able? Because I'm on my phone because I'm the computer is the producer side.
Mhm. So I can log into the virtual exhibition and share screen, but just give me a few minutes.
Thank you, Amy. So it's
Okay,
an
so Amy's
installation.
gonna get some images.
Yes, thank you. Art installation that I did in a garden, a community garden in Lower Manhattan in New York City, many years ago. And I thought it was appropriate to send these images for this call. They were handmade vessels, kind of meditation vessels that I installed in the garden, and that was what I sent in. Those are the images.
Do you want to tell us a bit about your practice in general?
My practice in general is that I identify in New York and Massachusetts and the public art. I have done murals all over the country and in Mexico. So that's a work. I work with other people. I have teams, or I invite the public. We did a mural in Massachusetts on the history of Florence. So it was a year of research. I had a design team, and I had 47 community painters painting on the mural. So that's a different approach to making art. Studio work is private, and then I show it. Some of it is political. Um, some of it is personal. This is the studio work. The public art is a different approach. I try to the community as best I can, either painting or brainstorming or selecting the theme. I like to do that a lot. I like to do that. I like to engage the community. And I think just apropos of this meeting, I think community work is very healing for people. They work together, they draw together, they paint together, they talk, they meet each other, they happen. Okay.
Sorry for the lagging internet because the
That's
riverside is slowing down my internet and I now I'm re-logging in for space.
I think could everyone hear Rochelle? Okay, I got the last part about collaboration being very healing, and I completely agree. I think every time that we collaborate between artists, being it on a physical space, being on a visual space, you always got something in return is not really the right word, but it's always an experience that is more fulfilling than when you are doing things alone. And you foster relationships, you foster friendships, and you always get something more dynamic and much bigger and expanded than if you do something alone. I think there's space for that, but collaboration is always, for me, it's always very important.
Yeah, I agree. In New York, for many decades, I had classes, I had kids collaborate, no matter what grade it was. They worked together in small groups, and they created an art piece, or many art pieces. But I'm a very big proponent of collaboration. I think that it's, as Joanna said, it's very fulfilling. It's not for everybody. There's a lot of people that don't want to public. They want to work in the studio. They're studio artists, which is fine. But the other part of me likes that working in public, dealing with the public, getting public's input. And as I said, there were people, which is a pretty great number for volunteers during a heat wave last summer. It was awful. No shade, working in the sun, but they came hats when they worked, and they didn't know each other necessarily. And they, as Joanna said, gained friendships and together, and it was a great experience. So we're having a show in Massachusetts in October at a library on the drawings that were preparation drawings for the mural, because I wanted to I don't really know the amount of work making a mural, making an installation. They they're not informed. So this show that we're having in October will have the drawings, the prep drawings, displayed at the Forbes Library in Northampton. that'd be interesting. I'm looking very forward to getting the public's feedback on the work that went into the making of the mural. I
Yeah, that
think it's
seems
important.
quite interesting to have the side that normally, yeah, you don't see. You only see the finished result. Seeing the rest, it's also very important to have a circle around the practice.
I agree. I think the public, the community slash community needs to know about all of our process. You know, we're talking amongst ourselves here and other artists, but the label that do other work in the community, they don't have any idea what we do. They don't, unless they're making art on the side or they have family members, but they're really kind of in the dark. They see the mural and they go, "Oh wow, great, beautiful." Kind of in the dark. They see the mural. They don't know our process. And I wanted to make.
Yeah,
God,
that's
sorry,
actually, I think that's really interesting because it's funny. Oh shit, sorry, I can't hear what Rochelle is saying.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm letting you speak.
There's so
Cemre,
much lag going on, so sorry.
yes, Rochelle is letting you speak, Cemre.
Thank you. Oh my god, yeah, sorry. There's like I think 2 3 seconds of delay. It's weird. So I was like not sure if it cut or yeah. No, it's interesting because now I feel like there's such a discussion, like a big discussion going on, at least in Switzerland and in France. If you know, if you're like a self-taught artist, you don't get like the how do you say it? Like at least you know the exhibition I mentioned in Lyon. Basically, I am collaborating with one other person who's a self-taught artist, and when I went there, he said that if you have been through an art school as an artist, you do get like a head start when you start your career as how do you say as an artist. But I mean, partially I find it to be true, but at the same time, he said that because you know, um, like he said it's because of the networking aspect. I think like when you're in an art school, you get to you know get to know more people and that kind of thing. But I feel like if like there's also in a school of art, I feel like there's always going to be like a chosen group of students depending on their discipline or depending on their age or I don't know. There is always like people that are given more of a head start advanced than other students. So there's basically like a I don't want to say like a discrimination. That's like the word that comes in my mind. There is always going to be like people that are put in a more advanced position and I don't know, but as you said, it's like kind of a question of not understanding maybe because uh, as a you know art student you go through college so you get to you know have that experience, and if you're like a self-taught artist, sometimes they tend to think that you know people who have done the uni it's easier on them, but I don't know. It kind of really depends, I think, on the student and on the person and the artist. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think the side that you said about networking can be a leg
Mhm.
up because if you stay in the same city where you did your masters or your college, you know everyone more or less. You can know
Right?
everyone,
Yeah.
but it really depends. And I think if you are a self-taught artist, it's also good to collaborate with other people because you pay more attention to that because you don't have that
Hmm.
networks given from college. You are more connected or try to connect more with other people and collaborate, but it's you have both sides. It can give you the network aspect, but if you imagine if you change countries or something like that, you just lose a bit the connection. So it's I think it's trying to
Yeah.
find spaces as let's say adult and like this after college, where you can network and collaborate and all of that.
But yeah, it's also interesting because like for me myself, I'm not where I did my studies anymore. So like I obviously did go through a change, but change of place. But the thing is, if I were to stay, I feel like there are some places, especially like smaller villages, where access as an artist, accessing and networking becomes a question again. And it's funny because if it's like a small village, I feel like it's always the same couple of people that are dominating the industry over there. And I don't know if it's just my impression or not, but it's I feel like also a question of accessibility, as I said before, because if you're not part of this certain group at this certain time at this certain place, it just doesn't how do you say, add up to anything. Like you can know people over there, but if let's say you're not practicing the discipline they want at that time, since it's like the same three, four people, that same three names that are like kind of doing the direction, it's kind of like you still have a lower chance of getting works or getting exhibitions or yeah. I feel I don't know.
Mm, I would agree, and I think that depends on the context very much. For example, in a smaller art scene or like in a more institutionalized art scene, there are hierarchies and there are fixed groups of people who do things together and they're siloed.
Mhm.
But if you see New York as an example, there are so many grassroots organizations and initiatives, and you don't have to know anybody, you just have to have great ideas and you can
Mhm.
actually make something. So that, I think that really depends on the location, and sometimes it's really like discouraging to be in an art scene that is kind of
Right.
like rejecting people or staying
Mhm.
conservative.
Mhm. And yeah, and also I think it's funny that's like how do you say, I feel like it's a funny thing that we talk about accessibility and we talk about engagement, but if you want to network you have to be present like in situ, and you have to be in these establishments, you have to go to these vernissages, but a lot of them are, let's say, like the first thing that comes in my mind are not wheelchair accessible, or a lot of them involve it's not that I'm against it, obviously, like there is alcohol being served, that's great, but if you're like a recovering alcoholic, it's like hard for you to be in these kind of situations, like social situations. So like I wanted to give an example, not as physical as like not being wheelchair admissible, but there's also that kind of things. And if you don't go to these events and if you don't work network over there, you have such a like a smaller chance if it wasn't for the internet. But since we have internet and we have access to all these other establishments, as you said, who are maybe more open and more accepting of new ways of things, I feel like I, the market is also kind of shifting in a manner, especially after the pandemic. People started giving like advances to online applications, and it's not you have to go up to the person and like ask to the curator and ask like, oh, are you do you have a set projects? Do you have a planning for this year or not? And you can basically just do the same thing via, let's say, I don't know, Instagram, or you can like send them your portfolio over Outlook.
Yeah, I feel like,
And I think that's
yeah.
like a interesting question,
No,
yeah.
no, it's okay. I
Yeah,
feel like
actually. Oh, sorry, Chelsea.
the
Go,
like
go.
journey I've um like the community part of, for me, it's like how would I, sometimes I want to approach, but it could be hard. But yeah.
Yeah, for introverted artists, it's such a nightmare to go through like you know like you have to present yourself, you have to be drinking, and there are people that just don't handle drinking very well. Like, I mean, for me it's fine because it works as like a social juice as it does to Benny, like, so that's good. But some people just tend to like close off or that kind of thing, or you just may be overwhelmed by the sheer amount of people. and in a vernissage, and you don't really want to go up to the curator who's already speaking with like five other people and like say like, yeah, I want to expose here, what do I have to, who do I have to go through to.
Yeah, especially like if you're like kind of moving around, sometimes I feel like the instability of like staying somewhere, and that's kind of like mentally on how I'm going to create my artwork. Like um I'm also in a different country from where
Mhm.
I was born, and I like kind of trying to connect with people that I might feel less like intimidating somehow, in the way that we could find a common ground or foundation that we can talk about art or the form that we feel comfortable about. Um, yeah, and like I sometimes feel like that was the space that I'm looking
Mhm.
into, and it just made me like to dig more, and I also wanted more to kind of get the access. I feel like that is like it could be like how I process that as a part of my life. I would say like an anchor point if I really want to stay here or I want to move to another place, like a city that like that. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's also a great way to talk about the visual spaces and the physical spaces. So I read this article, this research study that was talking about the research, the sorry, the visual spaces and the physical spaces, and it completely changes after the pandemic, and it really changes the art market, and also it's a good way to stay away from gatekeepers because it's much more accessible for
Mhm.
everyone. We can connect internationally. I think Amy talked with me about this before. It's a great way to connect and collaborate and create spaces that are completely different from a physical space. I think that is still important to have a physical space and have a physical exhibition if we can, but if we are
Mhm.
always moving and we want to connect with people from all around the world, it's the visual spaces. It's a great way to do that.
Yeah, and I also want to add that Simcha was mentioning about the accessibility part, and I feel like it's like a double-sided sword because for a virtual space, um, it might provide more access in terms of bypassing borders, time zones, and you can access it like 24/7. And because some of the platform like New York City, the ones that I have collaborated before, and they provided very good like places for you to put alt text for each artwork and images. So for people with like for example like bad visions or similar things, they can just listen to the whole exhibition because we will write visual
Mhm.
description for each environment.
Mhm.
And but as for someone who might not have access to a very good internet or a very good hardware, it might also be a little bit a little bit struggling for them to navigate through the space, and especially for people who are not familiar with the WASD navigation in the
Mhm.
virtual world. So the the viewing process might be a little bit difficult. So what we're trying to do is also to find a balance between them.
But I feel like, I think Joanna mentioned like the word gatekeeping. It's such an important keyword,
Mm.
especially in like the, how do you say, the art market, art world of today. Because as you said, like I feel like even if people do know, sometimes they just tend to like not share or not help out. And I feel like, as you said before, like a virtual exhibition space is kind of like a double-edged sword because I get that like not everyone has like an access, but at the same time, I feel like it gives like a sense of community more so than like a physical space because You have a, like, let's say for example for Carrie's art artist care, it is presented in like a similar, like everyone gets the same screen basically. Like yes, we can, you know, customize the avatars and everything, but we have the same screen and we get to perceive the works the same manner that everyone does. That's also such a how to say, interesting thing to me, because when you're in a physical exhibition, people tend to group between each other. Like, you know, there's basically like this. Not every exhibition, of course, but especially in like the openings, there's always like these people that know the, you know, the curators or the artists, who are like these higher up groups that they tend to like regroup between each other. Then there's like the passerbys, there's like these people and that people, and once you're in one of those groups, you are kind of, I don't want to say like destined, but you basically get, since you're like sharing information, you get like what they think about the exhibition, and you have similar, you know, views about this exhibition. So there's not much discussion going on. But if we were able to mix it, and I feel like, you know, a virtual environment gives you like that kind of opportunity. You get to like gatekeep maybe a little bit less than what you would have done. I mean, not absolutely not at 100%, but you know, Gator's gonna gatekeep. But yeah, I just feel like it just gives like a, you know, like an opportunity for people, you know, from the passerby groups to also experiment the exhibition the way the others do. Let's say.
Yeah, and
I totally agree.
yep. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just
I just
go go
sorry.
go go go. Internet, one of the issues.
So I'll just add one quick point. I think that also depends on the organization's characteristic, because for Insights of an Eco Artist and also UAAD are artist-led organizations, so there is no need for gatekeeping. We want to create like an open space for
Mhm.
equal access and for a ground for people just having equal voices, and it's less bureaucratic and it's flat rather than having hierarchy. So I think that's also part of the reason.
Yeah, it's all about collaboration, I think, and one of the aspects I hopefully are seeing in the art world is a lot of artists are turning to the part of collaboration, especially in the social, ecological, and political spheres, which I think it's amazing. So people are more sharing resources and collaborating with each other, all of that. I mentioned I'm sorry I have to mention her again, Julia Lohman. I mentioned it before, but I just love her. And it's the way that she collaborates and the way that she's, you know, changing the way that artists collaborate with each other and with the materials. I think for me it's an inspiration, and I think it's always it's hopeful to see that that especially this type of art there is a road about collaboration and connection and all of that, and I think that's what we should look and try to find areas where we have the same voice and where we can exchange ideas and not keep any ideas and connect with each other, because that's one of the aims of these opportunities and this initiative. It's nurturing and care for each other and for ourselves and nature around us. Um, so if you just want to share a bit how art is a nurturing point for you and how your art connects with care and empathy and all of that, I think would be great.
Maybe not the nurturing part, but on the collaboration theme. I was thinking about how, like, you know, I was thinking more of the collaboration between the artist and the art space, because, you know, the space where you exhibit your work also evidently ends up like affecting your work, the environment that you created in. You know, I was thinking, I think there's a exhibition space called MAT Art Space, MAT, MAT, something like that, and what they do is their exhibition space is basically like a flagpole, and your art is the flag. Like you get to make something to be like put on a flagpole, and I really find it interesting because, you know, Um, yeah, I don't know. It's also a kind of collaboration for me because, like, given the fact that it's a flagpole, no matter what you do, there's always going to be kind of a political undertone to that. So that's like what I was thinking about in the theme of collaboration. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Thank you, Cemre. Chelsea, do you want to add something?
Yes, I think for me, like I was thinking of like a lot of the artwork that I made. It's I feel like subconsciously like I wanna care for others, but not like the way that I sometimes do, like usually. But when I see the way like to do for I can do for this show, I'm thinking about that. Like if we are having like a community as like an artist group, how would I like I find myself kind of sometimes after the way that I feel isolated and it just like somehow not just my art will connect me and help me go through this process of rewinding and reviewing, but also like how I might go out to find other people. I'm kind of more like a person that would like to connect, like more to be playing a role that's trying to connect with others. And like if I want to be in this group, then probably other people will see the similarities that they have and they can share something. So, and I feel like it was really healing process for me to do that too. I really enjoy, and I just hope that I could have more chances for this. You know, I'm really happy that um, spatial it can keep the cares our artist care. It's kind of permanently laid there, and I just really like I think it's great. Like it's not just like a moment somehow we share. Like I put it up and then I take it down like after a week or something. That's like too short for me. Sometimes it's not like the memory that sometimes like sometimes I just want more because for those friends around me, for the people around me, I would think of that like someone told me before that I joined them and they're like, oh, I'm not sure if everyone's being taken care of. I'm like, wow, that is like that is being real. That's you're really serious about this thing. So I feel like that was a part of thing that I really trying to achieve or probably wise myself for that. So yeah, it was a really real journey for me.
So for you, art is a connection point between your individual self and the collective narrative and other individuals.
Yeah, I like to be a part of it that I was guided through by other artists or curators, but I also want to do something for them too. If I'm going to hold up like a show or something, but yeah, just for right now.
I can hear you. I hope I don't dip
Thank you, Chelsea.
out again.
Rochelle,
It's
can you hear
technical
us? Do you want to
difficulties
share
on this
something?
computer. My outlet for what we're talking about is the public artwork. I mean, it's perfect for what we're talking about. It's I see it back to the community, not just he's a painter, an artist. Whole process project is people, and then the artwork. I was just listening to Chelsea saying, "Well, I have a show and then it goes away and it's too short. It might be a month or two." In view unity, it can live there. I have murals that are up for 40 years. in community. It becomes iconic aspect, and I need that outlet. It would be enough for me to be in the studio. I mean, I love the studio. I've been there for decades and decades. But this other aspect of giving back, of engaging with the community, the volunteers, the personalities, the crazies that show up of it, all all that public is feeds me. You know, as I said earlier, a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of studio painters, they don't want to be out. I had a team of designers on the last mural in Florence, and they were hesitant about work because they were making mistakes. They didn't want the public to see them making mistakes. You know, they had those kind of issues. I don't have those issues, but their artists do. They don't want to be witnessed correcting, making mistakes, thinking, you know, they don't like that. I like that. What we're talking about is public art. It's connecting people. It's working with strangers and all their personalities. You know, I find it very interesting. I find it working with the community. I like that. So that's why for this call, I sent you public art because I see it as healing. I don't see it narrow. I see it all, but I don't see public art as narrow. Did I answer the question?
Um, but yeah, no, actually, I wasn't going to say anything, but I think I need to say goodbye because I need to go to work afterwards. And thanks a bunch for this little moment that we got to share. I'm so sorry. The problem is I thought it was at 1:30 because it was Lisbon time, and it was I thought it was like not how do you say, Switzerland is an hour before or after. I'm still confused. Like I still didn't learn from my mistake apparently. Sorry about that. So yeah, so it ended up being like a little moment for me. But I really do hope to see you all very soon
Bye bye.
and wish you all the best
Thank,
and take care, guys. Thanks a bunch for this moment.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And before Rochelle was breaking up a little bit, but I found a point very interesting. Like the artists don't want to be seen making mistakes, because compared to the lifespan of a mural, which is like 40 years, and the mistake is so temporal, it will probably just like last a couple of minutes or hours. So it's almost like creating an untimely
thank you,
art
Amy.
piece for the mural. Yeah, it's
With the
just a thought.
person didn't want to work in public. I mean, it's a public art piece. She went in knowing that she's very gifted, very smart, work, works like a dog. But there was a certain point where she didn't want to interface with the community because of her own thinking, anybody correcting her mistakes. So I made an accommodation supervisor. We came earlier than the community so she could work in private. As the supervisor of that project, about. But so that's a I hadn't even thought about that because I knew she knew it was a public project, and there were going to be strangers there. And then came that point, and I had to deal with it. So we did. We came earlier. I came 2-3 hours earlier. As you all know, those of you that have supervised projects, you you eat a lot of that stuff as supervisors, as people that are Joanna, Amy, you're running this wheel with things that we're about as participants. I mean, I know I see Joanna kind of smiling because there's a million things that come up that you have to deal with to let the project run smoothly. That's the goal, is that project smoothly. That's why I laughed at the beginning and I said, oh, you had a lot to deal with in organizing this. That's what it takes. That's what it takes.
I think it's
In
always
public
also
art, a million things come up. Go ahead,
yeah, it's no, it's
Joanna.
the funny part when you always trying to, because being in the studio, as you said in the beginning, the mistakes you make can be erased, or when you're public art, you also have to be you have to embrace those mistakes, I think, um, and it
Correct.
always expands the artists that you are, and if you are leading a project, the manager that you are, when you're dealing with people and working outside of the bubble, your own bubble. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes I go in the studio and I stay there as much as I can, just in my own bubble, researching and working.
Right.
But I always find it amazing to be around people and collaborating and doing all these projects. Even sometimes we are dealing with a lot of artists, and it takes time and you have to connect everything. But for me, it expands the person I am, the artist that I am, and this project in itself. So I always look
And
forward
speaking of
to do stuff like
organizing,
this.
go ahead.
I mean, as I mentioned earlier, it was heat wave. We had 5 brutal heat when we were painting. And somebody showed up. He painted. Like, he's a great painter. But he showed up with a tent. He set up the tent when they weren't painting. Things like that. I mean, I consider that a major collaboration. That he was giving. He was such a giving person, and he just was on the bottom, the border, without any complaining. I mean, it was 95 degrees. Without any complaining, he just worked. So sweet, so giving. Thought of other people. Thought of other people. I
Yeah,
loved it.
just
So that's the good stuff.
sorry, I'm having this lag, so sorry for cutting you off. But but speaking of like organizing, and I feel like care itself is an act of
Oh,
organizing. For example, the resource of support that's around you. And like you mentioned, the tent is a very handy material in this context of care. So I think since we already um talked about for almost an hour, I think we can probably close with this question. It's about during like in your creative journey when there are challenging times, what kind of resources or sources of support would you turn to? And this could be like people, communities, materials, or even internal practices. And you can just share your maybe your past experience or about just how these supports influence your work or your ability to care for yourself.
In Massachusetts and in New York many years ago, I belong to an artist-run gallery in Amherst, Massachusetts. Translation artist. That's my small community. I can always reach out with questions. That's one community. There's larger communities because I belong to other organizations. If I have a question about my taxes, if I have a question about how much I should charge for something, I reach out to those people. So it's very important because we do work in isolation as studio painters, artists. We are isolated. It's very difficult. It's a difficult life in that. You want people to see work, and then I'm sure Joanne has a few trusted people that she calls into the studio to see her work, and Amy and Chelsea. So that's another community. We create our communities, I think. You created this. This is a new community for me,
It's
which I
sometimes
appreciate. Thank you very
really,
much.
for me, it's about like coincidence sometimes. Like I don't know what's gonna happen and where it's gonna happen next, or like how I would find someone who may appreciate my artwork, and I would really be like, oh, I want to talk to you. Let's talk about the art. Let's try this way, or we can make this. It's giving me chances, and I'm looking for the chances, which I don't usually have a lot of times. Yeah, back in the school, somehow it's more like a
Uh-huh.
constructed way of like professors, they tell you something that you should do, or you should know about, and you kind of follow the rules. But after that, I guess it's a lot more like different. I would not necessarily say difficult, because it's it like you can still be the artist, the one that you kind of want to achieve, even like you're in a place that you feel that not like teaching you something, because sometimes it's not about teaching, it's about finding, like receiving and giving. So yeah. Thank you, Joanna. Yeah,
It's really important.
yeah, go. Yeah.
I I started a peer group of artists here in Massachusetts, and when we first started the group, the thing that I heard most from the artists was they were looking for other people to talk to, that they felt isolated. The peer group, and we meet once a month or so, show work, we do critiques. That's that's the structure of the group. Um, but they felt that they wanted to meet people. I heard that most often.
Yeah, I feel like connection or community.
And art people. I
Yeah,
don't
I
mean
mean, yeah, I like people, like we all like
yeah,
to see. Yeah.
yeah. But thank you for this. Thank you very much. I was, you know, was,
Thank you all.
thank you for setting it up. Thank you for doing the show, the virtual show. Thank you for this. So I
Yeah,
just want to say
thank
that
you, Joanna
publicly.
and Amy, for yeah setting
It's a new group of people.
it up.
A new,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.